Okay, in this next slide you can see, those are some of the boys that live at the orphanage, and that's a picture of the orphan house. There's 9 boys per bedroom. Their bunk beds are triple high, and there's 3 sets in each room. So 9 boys in a very small room. There's no indoor bathroom for these boys. But they are so excited that Daniel would let them live in his orphanage and that they would have the opportunity to hear about Christ, be fed, go to school, and have the opportunity to play sports. As you see those boys there, you don't know them by name. You don't know their story. You don't know much about them. But those 32 boys will become like my class at school. I'm going to know them. I'm going to know them by name. I'm going to know their interests, their likes, their dislikes. I'm going to know their personalities. I can't wait to see with that relationship with each of those 32 boys how it's going to change my heart more than it's going to change them. Do y'all remember back in March when our senior Hayden Miller came and shared some statistics with us? She told us that there's 1 billion people in the world that live on $1 a day or less. 2 billion people live on $2 a day or less. 26,000 children die every single day of either starvation or a preventable disease. These are facts I didn't know before Hayden came and shared. So often I turn a deaf ear or a cold heart to statistics like this, thinking, that's far away. I haven't seen it. I don't understand it. I can't fix it. But those statistics stayed with me. Hayden continued to encourage me by saying, Coach, there's a book I want you to read. She gave me that book. I want to read just a few short sections of that book for you. God was speaking through the pages to my heart. One section of the book said, you have a choice. You can cling to the short-term treasures that you cannot keep, or you can live for the long-term treasures that you cannot lose. Treasures such as people coming to Christ, men, women, and children living because they now have food, unreached tribes receiving the gospel, knowing and experiencing Christ as a treasure above all. Another section of the book that caught my heart was this. You and I stand on the porch of eternity. Both of us will soon stand before God and give an account for our stewardship of the time, the resources, the gifts, and ultimately the gospel He has entrusted to us. When that day comes, I am convinced we will no longer wish we'd given more of ourselves to living the American dream. We will not wish that we had made more money, acquired more things, or lived more comfortably, taken more vacations, watched more television, pursued greater retirement, or been more successful in the world's eyes. Instead, when that day comes, we will wish we'd given more of ourselves to living for the day when every nation, every tribe, people, and language will bow around the throne, singing praises to the Savior, who deserves eternal worship. The book said, are you ready to live for that dream? Let's not waver any longer. And those words pierced my heart. I'd been living for a dream that was built around this earth. Yes, I was doing some kingdom work, but I still had a cold heart for those people around the world that are in desperate need. Need not just physically, but need of the gospel. God was showing me an opportunity where I could use my interests of basketball and tennis, my skills of teaching and coaching, my passion for children, my experiences, all for this purpose. God has been preparing me. Back in the fall, when God was preparing me by asking me to be willing to leave Little Rock Christian and take that first step, I didn't know that Africa would be down the road in those line of steps. But if I hadn't followed God in obedience on that first step, I wouldn't be lined up to follow Him now, as He's clearly leading. You think you can't make a difference in your teachers' lives? Well, let me tell you. There's a senior girl, Hayden Miller, who today will walk this campus for the last time, prepares to graduate in a few weeks. She's made a difference in my life. She gave me a book that encouraged her. She had no idea that her impact and her prayers would change my life. The week before Easter, I knew God was asking me to go to Uganda. Still, I was considering a few weeks, 2 to 4 weeks. It fit well in my summer plan, and I would start a new career in the fall. It was comfortable, and anyone could survive cold showers, a rough bed, bugs, not very good food, no cell phone for 2 weeks. I thought, okay, God, I'll go for 2 weeks. It was comfortable, it was safe, I could do it. But God continued to change my heart. As you see on the next slide, it says, prayer is powerful. I had been emailing back and forth with the organization in Uganda, and it was Good Friday. That night, they told me as they had a worship service there in Uganda that they would be praying for me and my family. Good Friday. I woke up the very next day, Saturday morning, with a peace that passes all understanding. Didn't make sense, but God was calling me to go to Uganda. Not for 2 to 4 weeks, which was comfortable and safe, but to really go. So I began the process of preparing to teach tennis on that dirt court as you saw, to walk to that orphanage every day and give my life for those 32 boys in whatever way it looks like, to be that mom to those 32 boys that they don't have a mom, to invest in them, to hug them when they cry, to give them a high five when they do a good job. That's what God's been preparing me for. It was starting to make sense. As you see on the next slide, there's a verse. It says, "My grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness." I feel weak. God, why me? Why would you send me to Africa? There's so many more people, far more skilled, far more prepared for this than me, God, but why? Why would you send me? And when I started to question, God said, "It is a great honor that I would ask you to serve the King of the universe. Instead of looking at what you're giving up, look at what you're going to get to experience by serving me. Rewards that aren't attainable here on earth." God was speaking to my heart saying, my grace is sufficient for you, that his power was going to meet me in my weakness.